So let's speak about London Business School and what was your interview like. So just to begin with, can you talk about your overall impressions of the interview and who interviewed you? Was it a student or was it an AdCom member?
I think my LBS interview was very conversational and I would say, very comfortable. The LBS interview was conducted by an alumni. When you get an interview invite, the AdCom member gives you details about an alumni, and then you are required to contact them and schedule an interview with them according to a mutually convenient time. More often than not, your interviewer will be from your preferred city, where you're located. So you don't need to travel to another city to, go to give your interview.
Perfect. So let's talk about the overall flow of the interview and what kind of questions were asked. So can you just walk us through how did it begin and what sort of questions were asked and how did you conclude the entire interview, etc.
Right. So the first question was, obviously to talk about myself. And Within the first question only, my interviewer asked me why I want to do an MBA and why I want to do it from LBS and why I want to do it now. So all these 3-4 questions were kind of clubbed together, and I talked about my background, and then to elaborate on why I want to go to LBS, I mentioned 2-3 points like because of its focus on having global diversity and its location in London, and why London as a location is helpful for me as an entrepreneur. He specifically asked me why I want to do an MBA now, because I have about 3.5 to 4 years of work ex, so he felt that I could probably wait for a couple of more years to do an MBA. So then I justified the reason as to why I want to do an MBA now. Then there were a lot of experience-based questions. One of the questions that he asked me was, what am I most proud of? I went into the details about a project that I worked on, and then that project was something in a field which was very related to what my interviewer was currently working on. So because we found a common ground, we talked a lot about that project, particular details about it. Apart from experience-based questions, he was curious about my post-MBA plans, about whether I plan to come back to India or not. So I told him about, my post-MBA plans, that I plan to come back to India immediately after my MBA and things like that. And he asked me which other schools I've applied to. And why I prefer LB, like do I prefer LBS over them or not? What is the preference order? And why do you prefer LBS if that is your first preference? So again, that was an important question because they want to know that LBS is the first preference among all the schools that you're applying to. So you need to justify that very well.
Perfect. So I believe that LBS also has a presentation component during your interviews. So
Yeah.
can you walk us through what was it like and what question was asked and how did you respond, etc.
Right. Basically, you're given a printed problem statement, a very small one, then you're given about 5 minutes actually to prepare, and then you have about 10 minutes to make your case. So you don't need to have a presentation or anything. You just need to verbally, justify your case. So for me, my presentation was based on analytics. The problem statement was to basically convince your CEO to use analytics in the firm. and you had to justify you had to make a pitch to the CEO. And it was a fairly easy presentation because I wasn't expected to crunch any numbers or anything. It was just how well you can convince your interviewer about whatever case you have. So more than anything, it was all about your structure, how well you're structured while you're answering, the case question. And I think not much preparation is really required. Before the interview, I was very, very worried about the presentation because I didn't know what the format is. I could find very little information online, and I didn't even know what kind of cases are given. But I wouldn't say it's something to worry about. It's fairly easy and nothing that you need prior preparation for.
Got it, got it. So my question is twofold now regarding the presentations. One is that how long did your presentation last? And did the interviewer interject you when you were giving your presentation, or did he reserve his questions towards for the end?
Uh, so my presentation was about 7 to 8 minutes. In my case, my interviewer did not interject me while I was making my case.
Okay.
All the questions were reserved for the end.
Okay.
And in fact, there were very few questions. There were only a couple of questions in the end. So even the question answer part of it was very small.
Got it, got it. So what, in your opinion, is LBS trying to test through this presentation segment?
I think more than anything, it's about clarity of thought and structure.
Okay.
So whenever you're given a problem statement, how well you can convey your thought process to someone who's sitting in front of you.
So in terms of preparation for the presentation, you spoke of the fact that there was very little information available online regarding what kind of questions etc. are asked. So
Yeah.
did you end up doing any preparation for it? Did you read a few frameworks, or did you speak with someone who had such an experience before?
So I did read up online and I tried to find a lot of frameworks, but there were so many frameworks. It was just information overload.
Yeah.
So then I did talk to Akshat, and Akshat just told me to follow the STAR framework. And whenever you're given a situation, if it's a situation-based case, then you just just redefine what the situation is, and then talk about what task you have to accomplish, what action you will take, and then finally what recommendations you have. So I followed that framework even during my the case presentation, and that helped a lot because that is something which you can apply to almost every case that is given.
Right. And I'm just wondering, because a lot of people struggle with asking the last question that the interviewer tells them to ask, that do you have any questions for me? So I was just wondering, what did you end up asking as your final question?
Yeah. So actually, one of the questions which I had was that at LBS there is no on-campus accommodation, and most of the students, since it's a city, they stay outside. So I was curious that in a city when all the students are staying outside, it's very difficult to have everyone staying around the school. Maybe some will stay really far away, or I was curious about the kind of bonding that the students have since all of them stay off campus. And I asked him whether it's actually, something that goes against the experience of doing an MBA. But then, my interviewer said that since you're on campus almost the entire day, it really doesn't matter whether you're staying on campus or outside campus. And moreover, most of the students stay in a particular locality. So it was almost like a hostel accommodation very near to the school.
I'm just before we conclude, so do you have any piece of advice that you would like to share with people who are interested in applying to LBS, both from an interview and application standpoint?
In terms of application, or like LBS, at least this time they had only one question. So, it's very important that a lot of thought is given to that one question, because they're going to judge your entire application. Like a major part of your application will be judged based on that question. But as a surprise, when you're applying, you'll realize there are a lot of small questions in the application form, which are strewn across the application form on different pages. And you need to give importance to them as well, because if you're only concentrating on the essay throughout the your preparation process, you might just neglect those small questions, and it might cost you. So I did give a lot of importance to those small. There were about, I think, 7 to 8 small questions which were there on other parts of the form, which were also subjective questions which you had to answer in the form of a short essay. So I would recommend that you can treat the application form in its entirety when you're applying. And one thing I missed actually was that in the LBS process, they recently introduced a video component, and that is not for everyone. It's for anyone who gets shortlisted for the interview. So along with your interviewer details, you also get a link to a video, a video component where basically you need to record your answer to certain pre-recorded questions. So that video interview is something that you probably should prepare for once, obviously, you get an interview invite.
Perfect. I think this has been extremely helpful. I think people who are listening to this session, they would benefit immensely from your experiences of LBS.